Good evening. Welcome to day 5 of Clean and Simple One Layer Cards. Today I'm going to use one of my favorite background stamps, and that's this one, which is Pleasant Poppies. And I'll double check and put it in the description for you. But mostly we're going to talk about using Crumb Cake or craft papers. So I've cut up a few of those, and I've done the base card normally. So it's half of an 8.5 by 11 sheet, folded, scored at 5.5. And I'm going to actually use portions of this background stamp. I love the way Crumb Cake responds to heat emboss, so that's what we're going to do today. So I've started with my piece of Crumb Cake and I've just folded it in half. But notice that I immediately unfolded because I think you get your better impression if you always stamp on a flat surface. You'll notice also in the image I'm stamping on the paper piercing mat, because that's actually an excellent surface for any type of rubber stamping. I decided to put the sentiment on first. This is another Verve stamp, and it's acrylic. And so it was giving me a little bit of trouble, and so I wanted to get it out of the way. That's why it's being done first, actually. I was having a little bit of trouble with the center part of that stamp. So you should practice using your acrylic stamps on your grid paper so you're not wasting paper. But you'll need to learn how much pressure you need for each stamp. This is a large background stamp, but I'm not going to use all of it because it's way too big for this card surface. So I'm going to Versamark just the top area of this and stamp it so that I just get my flower heads. I don't really need all of the stems on the bottom. And so I'm kind of looking at my card and deciding where I want my flowers to end up, and then I'm stamping right there. And then you'll notice I have that watermark effect that comes from the Versamark. And what I'm going to do now is just add white embossing powder. And this is the part that I love. I love the way heat embossing with white powder looks on craft paper or crumb cake paper. It just has this contrast that's so beautiful. So you'll notice that I'm putting this down kind of a weird way, huh? What I'm trying to do is to avoid the sentiment. It is probably dry, but if I were to put embossing powder on that sentiment and it wasn't dry, then I'd have a very embossed sentiment as well. So I was trying to avoid it. Again, you should probably stamp first and put your sentiment on later. That way you wouldn't have to go through that effort. But like I said, I was having some troubles with that stamp. So I'm going to take this away, heat emboss it, and there you go, the magic of YouTube. In seconds, it's beautifully embossed. And I love the contrast there. I'm going to add some of the gems again because that went really well yesterday. And I have so many of these gems. I don't really believe in hoarding product. Since we get like 250 in a pack, that means to me, I can use these up. I can really enjoy using them on a lot of products. And so I think that hoarding the products that I buy actually makes it more difficult for me to be creative. So I allow myself to use my products. And since there's, like I said, there's so many gems in this kit, there's no reason for you to be worried about how many gems you're using. And it's a very inexpensive product as well. So I will use these gems quite a bit as I do different projects until I get tired of them, and then I'll probably move over to the pearls and come back to the gems later. So you'll also notice that I like to cluster them sometimes. So there's not just one gem hanging out. There might be 3 gems together or 2 gems together. I like to cluster them sometimes. And I might have fast forwarded that a little bit, but there you go. That's the look. I just wanted a little bit of sparkle on the card, actually. A lot of times with clean and simple designs, you do want to add some type of accessory. Now, this also would look nice with a ribbon. How do I know that? Because I also did it with a ribbon. And what I did is I put a ribbon along the bottom of the card. So there it is without the ribbon. I'm going to just round the bottom corners. I often do that when the image has rounded edges. I will round the bottom corner. It just kind of looks more professional to me. So there it is with the ribbon, and what I did was I put a little glue dot behind the knot in the ribbon so that it wouldn't slide off the bottom. And I also added pearls instead of the flat bed pearls instead of the gems. Okay, I'm having a little trouble with my camera, so I might have to keep this video short. But we're going to do one more card. I'm going to use chocolate chip this time because even though it's not crumb cake, I'm going to be able to get a similar contrast. And I'm going to use a masking paper that you can buy from just about any craft store. Just ask for masking paper. And this time I'm going to mask off the bottom. And it's important that this be straight. So I'm going to use the side of the card over here to kind of help me line up my masking so that it's straight. And then I'm going to ink up the stamp again. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp that along the top of the card. And press down. And I didn't use my embossing buddy. I mean, that's one of the tips I should try to demonstrate to you, because the embossing buddy or maybe a dryer sheet can help to make sure you don't have a lot of static when you're embossing, because static will draw the embossing powder to the paper where you don't want it to be. You want the embossing powder to only end up where there's ink. So probably the next time I do embossing, I'll kind of use the embossing buddy so you can see. Now it's heat embossed, and you can see the contrast is really, really high. So I have two options of what I can do here. I have lots of options, but the two that I'm thinking of right now is I can put a ribbon here with a bow and then put my sentiment here, and I'd probably heat emboss it as well, and that would be a nice look. Or what I can do is, before I put the ribbon on, I'm going to use my embossing folder and just texturize this bottom piece. So let me show you what that looks like. I am so sorry, stampers, but my camera is really being problematic tonight. So I ran it through the Big Shot and then I put the ribbon on. Sorry I didn't record me putting the ribbon on. I just want to show you how I ran it through the Big Shot. So I had put the bottom of the card into the embossing folder, not the back, but just the bottom, and then I ran it through the long way, and I basically stopped right there because I didn't need to run it all the way through. And then I got this really nice texture on the bottom, and I don't mind that that texture is on the other side at all. I think it looks fine. So if it bothers you that it's debossed on the opposite side, then you can always just use a separate strip of paper right there, in which case you could use a different color. I think white would look nice there too if you texturized it. So there you go. Those are our cards for today. I'm going to put some pictures, and I'm going to actually put some samples of other embossing ideas for Clean and Simple single layer cards, and I hope you enjoy it. Check the description for who won yesterday's cards, and come back tomorrow for day 6. Take care and happy stamping.